In the early Republic, Rome stayed a small city-state, and a teenager's world began at home. The household ran like a command post. At the top stood the paterfamilias, and his authority reached everyone. He decided what a teen learned and when. Reading and counting mattered only if they served the family's needs. Work came early, helping on land, running errands, obeying orders, because usefulness counted more than youth. Behavior also fell under his control. Respect, silence, and self-discipline shaped daily life, enforced through praise or punishment. This was not freedom with training on the side. It was training that defined what growing up meant. As Rome pushed across Italy, families needed teenagers who fit a bigger machine. Childhood no longer simply ended at home. In practice, adolescence became a staging ground, sorted fast by sex, duty, and usefulness. For boys, the training aimed outward. They learned to obey orders, endure hardship, and speak with enough confidence to be heard in public. Civic life and soldiering blended early because Rome expected service, not choice. For girls, the training turned inward toward the household. Skills in managing food, cloth, servants, and reputation prepared them for marriage. The shift carried a blunt message. A girl's future depended on running a stable home. Rome now held shorelines and sea lanes, and with that reach came Greek influence. Wealthy families hired Greek tutors or sent sons to higher schools. Teenagers faced a new demand. Educated Polish, not just obedience. Lessons widened fast. Latin stayed central, but Greek became a second language of status. Teens studied rhetoric to speak in public, philosophy to sound serious, and literature to copy elite taste. Education became a competitive showcase. This pressure reshaped adolescence in rich households. A teen's mistakes now carried social cost, not merely family punishment. Parents measured progress against rivals. Tutors judged talent harshly. Success opened doors. Failure narrowed a future early. In the late Republic, wealth piled up for some and vanished for others. For many teens born into struggling homes, schooling ended early. A child's value got measured in daily earnings, not lessons. Boys and girls took apprenticeships where they learned by doing, not by reading. Others sold food, carried loads, or ran errands in the streets. Work hours stayed long, and pay stayed uncertain. Outside the cities, teenagers went straight to fields and herds, tied to seasons and landlords. A bad harvest meant hunger, debt, and more labor. Survival became the curriculum, and childhood ended fast. When civil war tore through the Republic, politics no longer stayed in the Senate. Armed groups filled the streets, and teenage boys got pulled in fast. Some followed patrons, others got threatened. Violence started to feel like belonging. Recruitment came early because commanders needed numbers and loyalty. A boy could be drilled, marched, and used before he fully grew. Training became punishment and proof. Surviving battle mattered more than learning speeches or laws. At home, families tried different defenses. They arranged marriages sooner, tied daughters to safer allies, and traded kinship for protection. These deals were not romance. They were shields built from vows, meant to keep bloodlines alive. Augustus took power and treated private behavior like a public problem. New laws reached into teen years, especially for the rich. Sexual conduct faced scrutiny, and families felt pressure to show discipline. Marriage stopped being only a family choice and became a state priority. Rewards favored unions that produced children, while penalties hit those who stayed single or childless. Teen engagement suddenly carried legal weight. For elite boys, the message stayed blunt: serve the new order. Approved careers in government and the army looked safer than old-style politics. For girls, reputation became currency, and mistakes followed them for life. As imperial cities grew crowded, teenagers spent less time under family eyes and more time in public. The baths, the arenas, and busy streets became meeting places where status got tested fast. Leisure brought freedom, But it also brought rules made by other youths. Stronger boys pushed weaker ones aside, gangs formed around neighborhoods, and public humiliation became a weapon that traveled quickly. With so many strangers packed together, small crimes felt easy and tempting. Teens stole food, picked pockets, ran errands for gamblers, and fought over insults. In the city, growing up carried daily risk. Slavery stayed built into Roman work, and enslaved teenagers lived that fact every day. Many served inside homes, cooking, cleaning, carrying messages and watching children. Their age did not soften demands, it often made them easier to control. Others got pushed into workshops and small businesses, where they learned trades under pressure and punishment. Their labor produced profit they never touched. For some, the danger turned personal. Owners and supervisors used power for sexual abuse with little consequence. A few paths offered a thin hope. Some families promised freedom for long service, and a handful saved small tips to buy release. Manumission stayed rare and conditional, tied to obedience. Even freed, many remained bound by obligation to former owners. As Christianity spread through towns and households, it carried a different map of right and wrong. Teen years stopped looking like a warm-up for adult pleasure. Purity became a public virtue and reputation tightened. This shift also pressed on family power. The old household rules still mattered, but Christian leaders pushed moral authority beyond the paterfamilias. A teen's choices about sex, worship and loyalty now faced judgment from another community. Marriage changed too. It looked less like a contract for alliances and more like a moral bond that demanded restraint. Early marriage still happened, but the ideal of lifelong union and condemned adultery rewired expectations for growing up. Historians did not meet Roman teenagers. They tracked them through scraps that survived, letters home, insults scratched on walls, classroom exercises, court records and graves. Piece by piece, a daily life emerged. Letters showed anxieties about money, duty and reputation. Graffiti recorded boasting, ridicule and sexual talk that adults never wrote down. Law codes captured what families feared enough to punish: runaways, assaults, unwanted pregnancies. Graves fixed ages that ended too soon, and school texts proved how early pressure began. Put together, the evidence undercut any soft image of youth. Roman teens faced work, risk and discipline with little protection.